We're coming up on what is perhaps the most significant day of the calendar year here in Door County. It's not Christmas, it's not New Year's. It might be for some, but for me, the most important date on the calendar for the whole year, other than my wedding anniversary, is January 15th. January 15th. And why? Well, it's not so much what happens here, but it's what happens 190 miles to the northeast of here that makes this a really exciting time for me. So, January 15th. The Army Corps of Engineers closes the only water highway connecting Lake Superior to the other Great Lakes on January 15th, the Soo Locks. They're up on the border with Canada in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and they'll stay closed until the spring thaw, which could be normally the end of March. But if we have a severe winter, it could be longer. If there's still a lot of ice on the lakes, it could also be longer. So it's important that any boats that need to transit through the Soo do so by the 15th, or they could be in a world of hurt. Frankly, there aren't a lot of ports on the Great Lakes that can accommodate 700, 800,000 foot boats and lay them up for a few months at a time in the winter. On Lake Michigan, there's only two places. One is in Milwaukee, and they can only handle a few. And the other, as it turns out, happens to be here at Fincantieri Bay Ship Company in Sturgeon Bay, my hometown. Beginning in late December, weary from a long season of hauling anywhere from 30,000 to 70,000 tons of limestone, salt, coal, and iron ore on each run, the ships begin to slog their way into town, either through the Sturgeon Bay Canal on the Lake Michigan side, or by going up and around the peninsula through the treacherous stretch of water aptly named Death's Door, and entering Sturgeon Bay through the Bay of Green Bay. This event is called the Winter Layup, and much of the town heads down to the water's edge to greet these giants and get close to them as they delicately maneuver through the bascule bridges in town, or are jubilantly escorted by tugs through the bay before being tucked into bed, where over the winter they're given maintenance or undergo their 5-year inspection at Bay Ship. Here, the dozen or so ironbacks will remain locked in ice and emerge in spring with repairs completed, a fresh coat of paint, and ready for another season of hard work. Good morning. It's like 5:30 in the morning, and I just got up to check the progress of the 3 remaining boats that are still out on the lakes that are scheduled to come into Sturgeon Bay. The first is the Mesabi Minor, which is in Lake Huron. It's heading to Nanticoke, Ontario to offload its taconite ore. The other is the James Barker, which is currently in Toledo, offloading. At least it was when I checked at around 2 o'clock in the morning. And then finally, there's the H. Lee White of the American Steamship Company. It's on the smaller side of the lake boats. It's 704 foot long. And she's been tucked up in the northern part of Lake Michigan near the town of Nobbinway for like 36 hours because of the fierce winds we've been having for the past day and a half or so. They've been blowing at about 30 knots, straight out of the northeast. So I can understand why she's tucked in and just holding there until the winds die down, until the waves die down. And she's scheduled to come in here, down the Lake Michigan side, through the canal, up by the lighthouse, which is really where I wanted to photograph her. So currently she's about 30 nautical miles northeast of Washington Island, so she should be here later today. So I'm looking forward to getting out there and hopefully getting some shots of the H. Lee White when she comes in today. Well, I'm going back to bed. It's too early for me yet. And we'll just check later and get an update on H. Lee White's progress. Hopefully she doesn't decide to go in on the bay side. So, all right, that's it for now.
The economic significance of the Great Lakes and the adjoining St. Lawrence River cannot be underestimated. From the earliest days of European settlement, they've been utilized as a means of transportation, where great cities were founded as trading posts along a vast marine highway in an era predating the railroads. This long-standing relationship to the waters has enabled the region to thrive, and today it is the industrial and agricultural heartland of both the United States and Canada, generating a combined GDP of more than $6 trillion.
Well, as I suspected might happen, when she got just to the north of Washington Island, the H. Lee White made a right-hand turn and decided to come down through the bay instead of along the lakeside, probably because of the northeast wind has pushed a lot of floating ice up close to shore, and she wanted to avoid that. So who knows? Captains make these decisions all the time. They keep us boat nerds guessing all of the time. So what I decided to do is, instead of coming into town right away, I came out to Potawatomi State Park, and I found this area that I've shot from before, boats in the bay. It's an overlook, and hoping to get some shots here before she heads into Bay Ship. I'll go into town then and watch them tuck her into bed. But in the meantime, the tug from the Celtic Fleet, the William C. Gaynor, went out to meet her just about 20 minutes ago, breaking up the ice on its way, and I can hear her engines out beyond Idlewild Point, but I can't see her from here. Shouldn't be long though. Well, I see that the William C. Gaynor tug is pulling the H. Lee White in backwards, which they sometimes do. So they're out just this side of Idlewild Point, so it's going to be a few minutes before they get here. And just like that, she stopped. Don't know why. I do have a marine radio that I keep with me. Such a boat nerd. She'll be coming soon. She's still about a mile up the bay, so we have to wait. She's moving real slow, being tugged in backwards. So we wait. While we wait. aerobatics directly over the town is such a good idea. It's a good thing it's a nice day. Balmy 20 degrees. That's about -6 or -7 degrees Celsius for the rest of the world.
Well, here she comes now. Not being towed as I had originally thought, but with the William C. Gaynor dancing around her like a new puppy. In 2017, in the United States alone, more than 230 million metric tons of goods transited these waters. So, in a broader context, not only are these beautiful behemoths, let's face it, the stars of the show, behind the door, Sturgeon Bay and Bay Shipbuilding play a significant and absolutely vital supporting role.
So I'm sitting on top of this big mound of snow in the parking lot at Bay Ship. Security just came by. Told me to get down. Oh well. No fun. So before she was fully parked, I had to get some time lapse. Time for another cup of tea, and then it's time to head home.
The day didn't turn out quite how I had hoped. Still, any day I can spend in the shadows of these giants is a good day in my book. I'll have one more opportunity later this week when the James Barker and the Mesabi Minor make their way into Bay Ship, and with any luck, they'll come down through the Sturgeon Bay Canal, where I can finally get the shots I've been waiting on since last January 15th.
Well, this is a bit of an epilogue to the rest of the movie. I had mentioned that in a few days after the H. Lee White came in, that the Mesabi Minor and the James Barker were due in, and they came in this morning. But unfortunately, they came down through the bay and not out by the canal. So my hopes of getting some nice photographs of the boats coming in by the Canal Lighthouse this year apparently have been dashed. So I'll have to wait another year and try it again.
And as for photos, well, I took only one profile shot. A 3-image panorama that I stitched together to get her all in one frame, just as she was centered in the clearing. She looks a bit disheveled, her deck and boom rusty from taking on a season's worth of waves and iron dust. Her hull clearly battle-scarred from shimmying up to countless ore docks throughout the season. Her hatches are visible from this angle, and she casts a nice reflection on the calm and icy waters of the bay. I like shooting from this vantage point for that reason. Plus, it's quiet, and I can avoid all the people welcoming her in town. They tucked her in at Bay Ship next to her fleet mate, the American Mariner, and I'd imagine her crew is ready for a well-deserved couple of months off as well.